This is an ad by BetterHelp. BetterHelp recently surveyed over 16,000 people and found that while 75% of people believe it's wise to seek support, only 27% of Americans are in therapy, and people stay silent to avoid being judged. BetterHelp has over 10 years of experience matching you with the right therapist. Because we're all better with help. Visit betterhelp.com/stopthestigma for their first ever State of Stigma report, the latest in mental health research.
Welcome back, guys, to Under the Influence, Mental Influence. I am Alexis Knight, and we're bringing to a close the haunting story of the Slender Man case, the aftermath, the unanswered questions. We've journeyed through the psychological manipulation that led to this crime, examined the influence of the internet on young minds, and questioned where the blame should truly lie here. So now let's look at the aftermath, the trials, the sentences, and the enduring impact of this case. But as we close this chapter, we're also going to confront the tough questions that still linger. They're lingering out there even though people just aren't talking about it, not as they should. All right, the trials and the sentences. Now, after the attack on Peyton, Morgan and Anissa, they faced the very harsh reality of the legal system. The decision to charge both girls as adults, it shocked many, especially considering their ages and the circumstances surrounding this crime. The trials were closely watched, not just for their legal outcomes, but for what they revealed about the state of the mental health treatment and juvenile justice in America. Now, Morgan's trial focused heavily on her mental state. Diagnosed with early onset schizophrenia, no joke. This girl was portrayed as a child lost in a world of delusion, unable to grasp any reality of her actions. Her defense argued that Morgan was more of a victim of her illness than a criminal, and the court eventually did agree, sentencing her to 40 years in a mental health institution. Now, Anissa's case was different. While she didn't suffer from the same very severe mental illness, schizophrenia, as Morgan, her defense argued that she was deeply influenced by her friend and the online content that they both were consuming. Anissa got 25 years in a mental health facility, and she has the possibility of a supervised release. She got this, and she would be released after 3 years. But even with these sentences, many were left wondering, was justice truly served? I mean, people just were looking around going, I don't know what just happened. Is this right? Does it feel right? Did these sentences reflect the girl's culpability? Or were they a response to the public outcry for accountability? And more importantly, were the underlying issues that led to this crime ever really even addressed? Were they? Ask yourself that. Do you know of this case before today? What do you think of that? What's the long-term impact here? The Slender Man case had a far-reaching ability, right? It had far-reaching consequences, not just for the girls involved, but for the community, for the legal system, for everyone. And the broader conversation about mental health and online influence, it was out there. Peyton, the victim, survived her physical wounds, amazingly enough. But the emotional and psychological scars, they're going to be with her forever. How could you ever trust a friend after this? I'd be terrified. I'd never want to go camping again. I would never want to be anywhere again. I don't know what I would do. It's a terrible feeling. I mean, her life is forever changed. Her story now becomes a symbol of resilience, which is great. But it also is the symbol of the high cost of unchecked influence. Unchecked influence, guys. You know, everyone wants to get clean and sober. Everyone's talking about the fentanyl. All very important. What about this? What about this influence? For Morgan and Anissa, now the future's uncertain. Their lives will be shaped by their own consequences of their own actions. And their time in mental health institutions will hopefully provide them with the care they need. But their story raises more questions about rehabilitation, about redemption, about the possibility of a second chance, and also the questions about the crime itself. Who committed this crime? How did this crime get put together? How did it happen? Can these girls ever reintegrate into society? Will society accept them? Are they the wrongdoers here? Who's still watching Slender Man? Is he still out there? Are these girls always going to be defined by this crime they committed as children? Where is the Slender Man creator? Is anyone talking to him or her or what? And does it matter? What is the role of the internet? What is society's responsibility? See, this is what makes it so messy. And this is why the conversation always ends here. We don't know the answers. It's messy. It's ugly. It's scary. We just won't talk about it anymore. I mean, this case forced a hard look at the role of the internet in modern society, at least for a bit. How do we protect the young, impressionable minds from the dark corners of the web, or anyone who is vulnerable or impressionable, which basically, guys, is all of us on a bad day, okay? The Slender Man case was a wake-up call showing just how powerful online content can be in shaping beliefs and behaviors, especially in vulnerable individuals. But the internet, it's just a tool. It's society that really should decide how this is used, isn't it? Is it? We have our freedoms. Who's in charge of who's watching what? If you're underage, who should be managing that person and what they're being influenced by? How does that work? Is it possible? Can parents do it? Are parents too tired? Does it have to do with the parents? What about schools? Where do we go? Where does it stop? I mean, the responsibility doesn't lie solely with the platforms that host this content. Creators are free to create what they want. You know, if it's harmful, I guess that's still their choice. This stuff also, all right, this responsibility, it lies with parents and educators, policymakers. Children need to be equipped with the critical thinking skills they need to navigate this digital world. But it's not just the kids, guys, it's everyone. But we are talking about kids here. Are we doing enough to protect our kids from harmful influences? And in general, when something like this happens, when something goes wrong, like it did in this case, where should the blame lie? Is it with the individuals who commit the crime? Is it with society that failed to protect them, families? Or is it the technology that made it all possible? Is it the creator? All right, well, as we close this chapter on the Slender Man case, because that's the end of this. This is just a look at one story about mental influence, mental hijacking. And we find ourselves left with more questions than answers, don't we? I mean, this wasn't just a story about a crime. This was a story about the influence, the vulnerability, and the complex interplay between mental health and the digital age. It's a reminder that in our quest for justice, we must also seek understanding and compassion. Can we do that? How do we do that? How does it look? The Slender Man case will go down in history as a tragic example of what can happen when belief and influence collide in the minds of the young and the vulnerable. This is a story that demands we look beyond the headlines, beyond the sensationalism, and ask the difficult questions about how we can prevent something like this from happening again. This brings me to the end of this harrowing journey. We've explored the dark side of influence and the devastating consequences that can follow when young minds are hijacked by fear and delusion. But the conversation does not end here, guys. There are broader complications in this case. Of course there are. If I see interest in this discussion, I will be doing more cases under the influence. People sometimes have things, so many things coming at them. Where do these decisions form, and would they have formed in the individual without these influences? And how Can we manage any of it? Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into one of the most complex and disturbing cases in recent memory. Stay safe out there, guys. Stay out of trouble. Until next time, this is Alexis Knight.